What's up, everyone? How's it going? Hope you're doing well. And today is officially Super Bowl Sunday. The Philadelphia Eagles versus the Kansas City Chiefs. And I can care less. I hate both teams pretty much equally. And I already know it's going to be a non-stop depiction of seeing Taylor Swift on TV. So I'm really not that excited about it. But this video in particular is not really about the Super Bowl. This is about my favorite top 5 football movies of all time. Now, I haven't seen every single football movie out there, so if you have some top 5s that don't make this list, it might be because I haven't actually seen the movie. So what I want you to do is, after I list my top 5, put in the comments below what your top 5 are or some movies that you recommend that I check out. So let's just cut to the chase here and let's get to this list. So coming in at number 5 is a movie called The Replacements. This came out in 2000 and I really enjoy this football movie. It's definitely not the best one out there, but it's always a fun movie to watch. It's been a while since I have seen it, but I do like the fact that it's more of a lighthearted football movie. It's funny, and the cast members are great in it. Before I jump into the cast that really wraps up this film, the premise of the movie was actually really interesting. It's not just any old football movie. Essentially, the plot is the NFL goes on strikes, right? The millionaire players are saying they're not getting paid enough. They're going on strike, and the season basically comes to a screeching halt. Well, the owners want to keep things going. They want to finish the season out. They don't want to wait. They don't want to hold things up. So what they do is they just pull in replacement players, or AKA scabs. People who've played before in the past, like college, I think even ex-NFL players they pulled. They pulled like an inmate who used to play football. Pretty much anybody that they deem that can fit the squad, they hold tryouts, they get them in there, and they continue the season. So that's where it leads us with the cast. Starting off with the coach, Gene Hackman, I think plays a perfect coach, right? He just fits the bill, though his demeanor and everything. He's awesome at it. The quarterback, you have Keanu Reeves, calm, cool, collective, a guy you want to root for. Even Jon Favreau pops up in this movie, which I completely forgot that he was in this. He's like a psycho cop, right? Super strong SWAT member guy. And, you know, he tries out for the team, makes the cut. You got the center, who is a big, heavy-set sumo wrestler from Japan. Like, it's just this squad of rejects, essentially, that come together and try to take it to and try to win everything. So I really love it. I think it's funny. It's definitely, again, not the best movie out there, but it's just something that I remember from long ago. Very lighthearted, funny movie, and just one of my go-tos. Coming in at number 4 is a movie that I have recently just seen for the first time, and it automatically landed in my top 5, and that is called American Underdog. I remember when this was taking place back in late 90s, early 2000s. And this movie is essentially the story about Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner is not even close to being one of my favorite football players, but his story and everything that took place, like I said, I watched all this unfold live, was honestly really amazing. Everybody loves the freaking underdog type story. I mean, most of these movies are based off of the underdog story. And this was when it happened in real life. So when it happened in real life, it was great to see. And I think the depiction of this was done really well. You have Zachary Levi playing Kurt Warner, Dennis Quaid as the coach, Adam Baldwin as the college coach. You have Anna Paquin, I think is how you say her name. She's been in a ton of movies playing what turns out to be Kurt Warner's wife. And a really good cast, and the story is just very uplifting, and it was filmed very, very well. Like I said, obviously an underdog type story, and it goes through the events that took place back in the 90s and early 2000s. Again, what I love about this is that's when I was really, honestly, heavily watching football up into the mid 2000s. I feel like it was still a gladiator sport at that point. You had some great players still in the game at that time. It was still a very hard-hitting, fast game, right? And it was just, it really turned out very well. Obviously, I think some of it was, over-dramatized or whatever the case may be. But after watching it, I really enjoyed it. especially for it being more of a serious football movie. So coming in at number 3 is none other than The Waterboy. I love Adam Sandler movies for the most part. There are a couple that were kind of a miss for me, and I'm like, that's, I love comedies, don't get me wrong, but there's a line of what's comedy and then what's just outright stupid, right? And I think Waterboy dances on the line of that comedy slash stupidity to where it doesn't go overboard, but it's right there. But overall, I absolutely love this football movie. It's hard hitting. Adam Sandler does a great job playing the water boy. So many lines from this movie people still say to this day. The what water boy, and the go get water out of the cooler. Like it's it's just every time you watch this movie, you're not gonna be able to not laugh, and I love comedies probably more than anything. Probably even more than my horror movies that I enjoy. I love laughing at a good movie. And again, another underdog kind of story, right? But Adam Sandler playing Bobby Boucher against his mother's wishes, trying to hide and play it through. And it's just a fun movie about football, hard hitting. The story was really well done. The very strong cast, too, when you really think about it. You got, obviously, Adam Sandler in the movie, Kathy Bates playing the mother, Henry Winkler as one of the coaches. And then you got kind of this long list of other characters that are usually in the Adam Sandler universe that are all jumping on ship playing in these movies. And again, because this is based out of college football and not so much pro football, what's awesome to see is there's a lot of big name announcers that pop up in this movie that we all love and appreciate. Lee Corso, Dan Patrick, right? You got Lawrence Taylor popping up, Bill Cowher, like Jimmy Johnson, all these awesome announcers that jump in this movie and just bring a little bit of realism to it. So over the top, funny, but it's always a blast to watch this freaking movie. Everybody quotes it to this day still, and I don't know many people that are tired of this movie yet. So this had to make the top 5 for sure. So coming in at the second spot might be a little bit of a surprise, but it's going to be the 2005 version of The Longest Yard. Another Adam Sandler movie, yes, but I really enjoy this movie. The cast is phenomenal, and again, it's a remake. I think the original one came out in the 70s, and the original is really good, don't get me wrong, but I remember seeing this in theaters, and man, this was a fun movie. The premise, obviously, a quarterback who gets caught drinking and driving, and he's chasing from the ran from the cops and whatnot, gets caught, ends up in prison, and well, the warden wants to create a football team and play against the guards and whatnot. So same storyline as the original, and I think obviously what makes this movie so strong is the cast. The modern day cast that they come up with, well, modern day at the time, was so freaking strong. You had obviously Adam Sandler as the quarterback. You have Chris Rock in there. Nelly shows up, which even, for a rapper, he did pretty well. Burt freaking Reynolds as the coach. You had real players show up. You have Terry Crews in the movie. You have Bill Goldberg, wrestlers from at that moment in time, right? Not only just Bill Goldberg, which, I'm not the biggest fan of Goldberg, but freaking Stone Cold Steve Austin as the guard. You had Kevin Nash show up as one of the guards. Was it William Fichtner, which I'll put a picture up. You know who he is. He has been in multiple movies, can play the good guy and the bad guy so well. You got Tracy Morgan that pops up in this movie, Michael Irvin. You have Joey Diaz, the warden played by James Cromwell. Again, if you've seen him, you know exactly who I'm talking about. That'll do, pig. That'll do. Rob Schneider, Chris Berman, the one of the great voices of the NFL. Jim Rome, Dan Patrick's in the movie. So a huge freaking list of amazing cast members pop up in this, and they do really well. Like I said, the guards do a fantastic job, and then you have some of these classic actors in here that really make it funny. It's a great film. It's funny. It's not the best freaking football movie ever, but again, this is a comedy centered around football. I really enjoy it. It's fun. It's a good time. It's one of those great movies you put on. You just kind of forget about life for a little bit and you enjoy watching a game that you like to play or watch. So for me, this comes in at number 2. Now we are down to one movie left, and there are a ton of good football movies out there that I have not included on this list so far, that probably people are screaming at the screen saying, it's blasphemous that I haven't even mentioned any of these other movies left, since there's only one spot left. But I do have one honorable mention that I want to bring in prior to getting to the number 1 spot, which, again, I think when I get to that number 1 spot, some of you are going to think that I'm absolutely out of my mind. But the honorable mention is going to be Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. Now, I know some of you are like, what the fuck are you talking about, right? And I get it. It's technically not a football movie, but because it is centered around football so much, it's got to have an honorable mention, because without the premise of football, it really wouldn't be as funny as it is. And this movie is hilarious. There are so many things that I still to this day quote from this movie. This is the first time I ever heard someone say, holy shitballs, and it has stuck with me since. And I remember my aunt took me to see this when I was a kid to the movie theater in 1994. Probably not appropriate, but I don't think she knew. And regardless, I died. Even to this day, I watch this movie, and there are so many scenes from this movie that still have me dying laughing. When he's looking into Ray Finkel, and he goes to the house, and the mom's cooking the little footballs, right? And she's like, "Oh, he'll be back in any minute now." And the dad's like, "He's not coming back. The engine's running, but there's no one behind the wheel." Like, I still to this day use that quote. Like, that is so freaking funny. When he goes into Ray Finkel's room and you see this, oh, it's a lovely room of death. Like, Jim Carrey freaking nailed this movie. Oh, it is so freaking hilarious. Laces out. Finkel is Einhorn. Einhorn is Finkel. Or Einhorn's a man. And then in the whole shower scene, right? Like, that's the first time I ever even knew that those type of people exist, right? Because especially I was a kid, and I was like, "Whoa, that's weird." When he's kissing Einhorn, he's like, "Oh, your gun's digging into my hip." Like, it's so, dude. His car, when it's all cracked open, right? And he's at the very intro. Like, there's so many parts of this movie that are absolutely hilarious. And again, this movie would not be as funny if it wasn't centered around football. So it had to be an honorable mention. I love this movie. I think it's so funny. Again, another strong cast. You got Courtney Cox showing up. Obviously, Jim Carrey in there. Bill Zuckert is the guy who played Ray Finkel's dad. Again, the great Dan Marino actually shows up. But yeah, this movie is honestly hilarious. I love Ace Ventura, and I even love the second one as well, believe it or not. But let's get to the number 1 spot. And the number 1 spot, the movie that you are all waiting for just to see what I think is my favorite football movie of all time, and that is Varsity Blues. Yes, I know that is probably blasphemous to a lot of you, but I don't care. I love this freaking movie. I think this movie is amazing. This movie always made me want to play football and wish that I played football growing up in high school and whatnot. This was just an awesome, very, very well done movie. I don't think it gets the reception that it deserves. And again, a shockingly really good cast in this one as well. Jonathan Mox, which James Vanderbeek, famously coming from Dawson's Creek, which I know this is going to sound pretty weird, but I like Dawson's Creek back in the day, man. I remember when that shit was everywhere. I watched it when it first came out. So I was a James Vanderbeek fan. I think he's a good actor. I don't think he gets enough credit, and I think he did a really good job in this movie. The coach, John Voight, man, he plays a perfect coach. We all know coaches like that, whether it doesn't matter the sport. There were coaches like that existed, and John Voight nailed it, man. Just that tyrannical kind of hard-headed it's my way or the highway. I don't give a damn. He nailed that freaking role. You got Paul Walker as like, the star quarterback. You had old Billy Bob, right? That massive lineman. He was hilarious. Scott Kane, which again, if you saw him, he's Charlie Tweeter. He was a wide receiver. He was hilarious, getting drunk all the time. And that was the thing. I was in my early like high school years. These guys were like freshmen finishing up high school. So I could relate when this movie came out. And that's what made this, awesome to me at least. And one thing I will say, what really elevated this movie was, for whatever reason, Foo Fighters, My Hero. Like, this was the first time that I heard that song, and that song made you want to just run through a freaking wall, right? Like that, when you hear that song, even to this day, every time I hear My Hero from them, I think of this movie and playing football. I know that's crazy, but that's just what I've always associated this movie with. So I love the movie. The storyline itself is great. Mox kind of, pushing back against his dad, like, quote, "I don't want your life." Like, he got made fun of for that because of his bad Southern accent, pushing back against his father, and just how this whole town is just so involved in football, right? Everything is around high school football, and small towns across the country, especially in Texas and whatnot, are like that. Like, football is everything. Friday Night Lights, like football is their world. You got the black running back, right, who they're kind of dancing around that race, not dancing around it, but pushing that racism theme. Like, hey, he's the workhorse. He's getting them up the field all the time. Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. But they'll never give him the ball for the touchdown. They want to give it to the other receivers and the other players. And Mox he pushes against the way things are, right? Because he doesn't know. He's like, nah, I'm going to do it how I want to do it. You see the coach doesn't really care about the kids. He just wants the title. And you see these kids are willing to put it all on the line for the coach and for the team. And then at the end of the day, they realize, like, they don't care about you, chewing you up and spitting you out for what they want. And you could take that lesson and apply that to, as an adult, some jobs and whatnot, right? Like, you work really hard at a job, giving it your effort, giving it your everything, and they don't really care about you. They just want production. They just want to use you as a workhorse, and if you speak out of line, they'll just replace the squeaky wheel with another one that they can probably get cheaper. So there's a lot you could take with this movie besides it just being about football. But overall, this is one of my favorite ones, like I said, and I think a lot of it, honestly, it's nostalgia for me. If you can't tell, a lot of these things, they remind me of my childhood, and nostalgia, if it's tied to it, is going to have a closer place in my heart than actual, I guess, quality movies, if that makes sense. But anyway, nonetheless, this was my top 5. Varsity Blues coming in at number 1. Love this movie. Just watched it the other day, and I forgot how much I freaking really enjoyed this movie. I didn't even mention the one famous scene that was all over MTV at the time was the girl with the whipped cream all over her, right? When she was trying to seduce James Vanderbeek's character because now he was the starting quarterback. Like, I remember that was a frenzy. Everybody was talking about that because it was so risque. I mean, it was it just takes you back to the 99, 2000 era movie. And honestly, a movie like this, you can't make today. The things that they were saying, the slurs that they were saying, right? Like, it's just, it's definitely in that era of time frame. So that's my top 5. Again, I know I left out a lot of good football movies. People love Rudy, Friday Night Lights. Like, there's tons of, what's the other one with Al Pacino? But there's a ton of other football movies out there that I know some of you are like, are you insane? They didn't even make your top 5? You're Like, I already know the hate that some of you are going to throw at me. And that's fine. I want you to tell me down below in the comments what your top 5 are, or even if it's not top 5, top 3, whatever the case may be. And some of them I've never even seen before, so maybe you'll mention some that I just never watched and I can check it out, because I'm always looking for new movies, especially old stuff, since the newer stuff kind of sucks today. But anyway, that's it for today. That's my top 5 favorite football movies of all time. Don't forget to let me know down below in the comments what yours are. If you like the video, hit the like button, all that jazz. Check me out. Got a live stream on every Thursday. And I'll see you guys the next one. Hopefully you enjoyed the Super Bowl, but just wait and see. Have a good one. See you.